Question is for President Haverstock. In the past elections, the number of students that vote are very low, roughly 3,000 out of a 35,000 campus. As president, do you feel you represent the student voices?
Well, I think that low is relative. I've spoken with the associate students presidents at all the CSUs in California, and each AS election tends to have 2,000 to 3,000 students vote, regardless of whether the campus has 3,000 students or 30,000 students. So I think that number is really reflective of how many people each associated student is able to reach, and it's not really fair to think of it as a percentage of the campus population. I think that those that were concerned about what's happening on campus came out and voted, and they voted for me, and that's why I've worked to meet the needs that they have expressed.
President Haverstock, what interaction do you envision between the associated students and the Union Student Union next year?
Well, I'm also on the ballot for the USU Board of Directors. I know a lot of associated students statewide are actually combined with their student union. It's actually one student auxiliary. I think that's an option we should really pursue on our campus. I think that sometimes it gets a little too bureaucratic having so many different levels of staff and administration regarding the student auxiliaries. I'm hoping that by serving in both capacities in AS and in the union, I'll be able to help bridge the gap between both organizations. I've really actually tried to do that this year, representing AS and the union board as well.
Thank you. Miguel.
Yes, I've also talked to other unions and other ASs and other universities, and I do want to work with them because when I was in the AS space, we tried to work with their union, and it was becoming productive, but I just felt that it fell apart, but I'm looking into working together with them too.
Thank you. This question is to the two vice presidents. I'll begin with Alex. How exactly do you plan to decrease tuition?
I believe I've answered that question. The only way that you can decrease tuition is through advocacy of our state legislature. We have to get more involved, we need to get our students on campus registered so that we have more of a bargaining tool when we go to the state legislature and lobby them to decrease tuition, because it clearly is a huge problem, and the only way that you can have a voice is by having voters on campus.
Senator Umali.
I believe you can start decreasing tuition not just on the state level, but on the local level as well. Currently, that is being discussed within the administration is called the Campus Quality Fee Proposal. This is a new proposed student fee that may be implemented without the knowledge of any students. I think it's really important that we start on the local level, fix the things that are happening in the House, and then go nationally, go state level. Because it's not just happening on the state level, it's happening on the local level as well. Our administration can't increase fees without students' knowledge or voice, and I think we really need to fight against that so that our administration knows what students want and knows the voices of the students.
Next question to the two presidential candidates. With increasing student population, car traffic, and increasing production of waste, what recycling efforts are you willing to support? With Miguel.
Currently, I feel that our recycling program is effective. We do put a lot of money into it, and I just feel that it needs to get better because we put in more money than we actually get out of it. So I just feel that we do need to make it stronger. We have to overview what they're doing and just work on it to make it better.
Any specific plans?
Not for right now.
President Haverstock, what recycling efforts are you willing to support?
Sure, I think we have a really good collection effort, but I think it can be improved. We have something around the area of like 4,000 trash cans on campus, and we only have 42 collection sites for recyclables. So we really need to make sure that we have more places to collect recyclables, because students aren't going to recycle if it's not convenient. Secondly, I think we need to really take a hard look at our recycling program with associate students, because it's really, really expensive. I'm not sure if specifically the outreach program that they have regarding recycling efforts is very cost effective.
Thank you. President Haverstock, how do you support athletic scholarships, which is not student-run, and not support university programs which affect the resources and services of students?
Sure. Well, we've had student referenda in the past in which the students voted to support athletics.
Thank you. To both candidates, we'll begin with Miguel. Both of you have stated that you support the DREAM Act. Why do you support it?
I feel that we need to support the DREAM Act because it doesn't affect anybody. These students are just coming from other countries trying to get an education. Why are we going to deprive them from they're not going to even like bother with the people who like, they don't bother anybody with the money. If you guys look into the written action, it doesn't say anything with the money going to everybody else that was born in the United States. It's going to affect everybody else. So what's wrong with that, with having students from other countries? Like our governor is a foreigner and he's also here, so why he got an education, other people can't get an education?
Thank you. President Haverstock.
Yeah, the DREAM Act, we should not be discussing the DREAM Act as immigration legislation. It's education legislation, really. And if more people are educated in our society, we're going to have a higher quality of life. We're going to have higher property values. We're going to have a more effective and efficient economy. And big picture-wise, it's just better to have more people educated in our society. So it's not a matter of whether you want to talk about the merits of the ethical side behind immigration. What we're talking about is whether or not people who are living and residing in California should be able to get education, and they should.
Thank you. This question is for Senator Umali. Why do you feel the Senate did not approve the DREAM Act?
I believe the Senate did not pass the DREAM Act and pass the resolution of the DREAM Act because they were not educated. I believe as the president and the vice president, it's the role that they have the role to educate the Senate, who will ultimately educate the students. If your students aren't educated, and especially if your Senate's not educated about legislation that's happening on the state level, then they're not going to be educated about the state level's effects on the local level as well. So I believe that the reason why the DREAM Act did not pass is because the Senate was not educated.
This question is for President Haverstock. You talked about reaching out to student organizations to increase school spirit. How do you plan on increasing school spirit for those not in student organizations?
Well, I think that's why I want to support the athletics program, because that's something I think, regardless of whether or not you're in a student organization, you're connected to the campus, you live on campus, you commute. I mean, we have the #1 men's volleyball team in the nation right now, and that's an incredible achievement. We had a really, really great run with basketball this year. We had a national champion in long jump, both indoor and outdoor this year. That's really great, and that's something, regardless of how you're involved on the campus or how committed you are, you can say as a point of pride regarding your campus.
This question is for Miguel. If you win the position of president, what will you try to do to get more students involved in programs like Associated Students?
Well, personally, I feel that a lot of directorships were taken away this year, and I feel that we need to open some of the directorships that were taken away by the current administration, because this allows students to get involved. And that's what I feel, that we need to open these positions that were open, and just like work harder in advertising, get people out there and try to bring them into AS.
Thank you. This question is for all candidates. President Haverstock, would you like to respond to that?
Yeah, we don't even have enough students and associate students to fill the positions we already have, so I don't know why we need to keep adding more positions. I think what we need to do is to increase the value of associate students, make it an effective organization that people want to join. If we just have this, like, perception of the prom committee that associated students is, where all we do is do the big show, and all we do is we do homecoming, and all we do is run our election every year, then no one's going to see any value in it. That's why we need to do advocacy, because people will jump on board when you tell them you're fighting for a good cause.